Hi, welcome to Grandma's Outdoors again. It's so beautiful today and I didn't want it to rain and ruin all my blooms. I have to show you a few things that are starting this spring. These are azaleas and it's going to be just loaded with flowers by tomorrow or so. I bought it for like $1 at the end of the season and I potted it up and left it for the summer in the shade and potted, and here it is, already beautiful. Rhododendron is the big version of an azalea. Same thing. They love the south. This is a Japanese maple and it's starting to drop the old leaves and get the new. This is a holly. The reason I love hollies is because it's just a bee magnet. The bees, when the sun is shining on here, there's just millions of them. If you can try and plant things that blossom in the spring, some in the summer and some in the fall, then you have color year-round. These are Crape Myrtles. They'll start blooming in the hot summer, but not right now. These are the Goji Berries. Nandinas, they bloom and they're an evergreen when the berries aren't on here. This is the one I have to show you. This is that jasmine. It's just loaded with bees, and that's what you want, lots of bees. And then now when this is all done, then I'll trim it all up. Okay, we'll move down here. These little sidewalks, I keep expanding them. Every time I find brick, I add more brick to it, and eventually it's going to be solid brick. There's something called polymer sand, and you put that in the brick, wet it down, and it's almost like cement. But I didn't use that. Now this is a spirea. It's all full of blossoms. That's going to be pure white, beautiful blossoms in about a few days, along with my roses. So when the jasmine's done, then the roses and the spirea take over, and I have a lot of black-eyed Susans that are coming up too. Okay, then we'll move down here. This is creeping flax. I planted it in the racks because from the mother plant, and every fall I just take little clumps and I start it wherever I want it. Okay, this is another version of Japanese maple. It's the taller version. It's real pretty. Okay, I had parsley left over from last year, and but it's a beautiful plant. You can plant it in planters also, and it makes good greenery in there. So now I got my tomato plants started. I put about 6 of them up here because it's easy to water, and I have a few snap peas I plant along this wall, and then they hang over the edge. But once it gets too hot in the south, snap peas aren't very good. This is kale. I'm just going to let it go to seed, and then it drops its seed, and either I can put it in a paper bag and catch it, or just let it fall. Now when you plant a tomato plant, dig a hole about 10 inches deep, put a little fertilizer, 10-10-10 or 13-13-13. It's just equal parts, and then cover that up with a few inches of dirt. Otherwise you're going to burn the roots of that tomato plant. If the tomatoes are real tall and spindly, bury it deep, or you can even lay it down. The roots will even grow onto this stem. But if it's too tall and spindly, the wind will knock it over and it'll just die. And so now I usually fertilize everything in about March in the south, but in the north, as soon as the snow is gone, things start budding, you can start to fertilize. Now this plant here, it's a wild plant that grows in the south, and probably up north too. It's called plantain, and it comes in a few different versions. Some is bigger than others, and it's a good plant to, say if you had a bug bite, you put it in your mouth, chew it up, or just get it juicy like this, and then you make a little poultice and you put it on your bug bite and you put a cover over it, and it will draw that poison out. It's a real good plant to have, and so I let some of it just grow wild. Okay, so I'll bring you over to this. Now my asparagus, see that? It's all starting to come up. Just starting. And I will always have color because now that yellow forsythia, that's done. And then now the irises are going to start to bloom. And so there's always color around here, and kind of look on the labels as to what time of year you want things to bloom. Now my husband sometimes makes these little things out of rebar. He just welds them for me, and then I put them in the ground. When I'm hauling my hose around, I don't knock all my plants over. I just kind of let it guide the hose. Now I told you about the tiny little grapes that I started, the muscadines, and then you tie them nice and tight to that stick or whatever, so it has a nice straight stem. But now I went to the bigger ones, but I didn't really show you the in-between ones. And this is one that is about a year old. And how you start them is I take my hand, and that's about how far apart I let these, because there's all kinds of these little branches. But if you go your hand and then leave one, and the first year you leave it about an inch, second year maybe 2 inches, and then it'll eventually grow more on here, and you can leave it a little longer. But it takes too much energy to leave it too long the first year. So they're about a hand length apart, and some I let grow this way, some this way, some that way. That way they're not all on one side. And so anyway, I guess that's, and then make sure to tie them every few inches with this jute string. And the reason is because then it will rot and it won't choke off your plants. And always make sure there's not those little chokers on there, or it'll cut your plant right in half. Now this one is already starting to bud out. And for about a month they will drip. They'll drip sap, and that's a good thing. Pay attention. Okay, let's see. All right, and when you are fertilizing like trees, we'll go this way. These are peach trees that were supposed to be almond trees, but nevertheless, I try to keep the middle open. And this is the drip line right here where the branches end. You just kind of broadcast your fertilizer around there, because that's where it's going to be absorbed through the drip line. Okay, so now all these peaches have already blossomed and are done. Okay, now say if there's 20 peaches on this little branch, I'm going to take 10 off. In a little while I'll be able to tell, I'd say a month from now, and I'm going to take half of them off, any kind of a peach or any fruit tree, because the more buds you have and the more blossoms, the smaller your fruit is going to be. If you take some of them off, your fruit will get bigger. Okay, so, and I never put Roundup around any kind of fruit and vegetables and things, because you're going to eat that. Okay, also by the rock walls I have, I don't like snakes or anything, so I put mothballs in there. And mothballs, between the cats and the mothballs, I don't ever have snakes. And that's a good thing. Okay, let's see here. Also, when you're planting your garden, I just planted green beans for now. Don't ever throw fertilizer in the whole garden, because remember, you're fertilizing weeds, and you only want the plants fertilized, plus you're wasting a lot. Just go down the row, cover it up a little bit, and then put your seeds in. You don't want to put anything right on that hot fertilizer. Okay, and I just wanted to say happy birthday to my little cameraman. He just turned 13. And so I do want to show you before I go these beautiful trees. This is my plum trees, and they have just tons of blossoms on and lots of bees. But my real beautiful trees are these right now, are flowering crabs. These are decorative crab apple, and it's just full of bees in this time of the day. And I wanted to do this video today because it's so beautiful, and it's just massive bees. And in the fall, there's robins that love to eat all these little crab apples. Now underneath here, if you want cutting, or if you want to get a little here, see how the root system comes down here and it starts a new plant. So I just cut it with my shovel and dig this plant up, and I put it in a pot, and I put it in a kind of a shady spot for the summer, and I'm going to let that grow all summer. And it's best actually in the south to plant things in the fall because it's so hot here that it has a chance to form its root system before, and then it's really got all winter. But in the north, you wouldn't want to, you could plant it in the spring. But that will start a whole new tree, and that's how these started. So I guess that's about it. I covered everything, and I had to show you these beautiful trees. And just remember to try and plant different things so you always have color. That's it for today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.